Hello everybody, welcome back to another one of my special editorial videos that I do every so often. This video I actually meant to do last week before I saw Captain America Civil War, but last Thursday when I was planning on doing it, I got a little invite to go see an early screening of The Nice Guys starring Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling that comes out this week on Friday, and I couldn't turn that down. It was at the Chinese Theater down in LA, so had to go take that opportunity. But my plan for that day was to do a top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe films list before seeing Captain America Civil War. I saw a lot of people doing that online, and I want to do one of my own. So today that's what I'm going to be doing. Obviously I have seen Captain America Civil War already, so that film was taken into consideration for this list. Did it make it? We'll have to find out. MCU is, despite what people are saying about Star Wars is a big success. The MCU is the most healthy, the best cinematic universe film franchise going on right now. It just is. Every movie has been good to great, and even higher than that at certain points. This list was actually pretty hard to make, I have to say. Number one was easy, I gotta say, but other than that, after that, they were all very close. And I'm gonna go ahead and start off with some honorable mentions. Like I said, I'm only doing my top 5, so I have 2 honorable mentions. The first one will be the film that kicked off the MCU way back in 2008, starring the washed-up Robert Downey Jr. and the director of Elf, Jon Favreau, who has got some pretty remarkable success recently of his own, but that is of course the first Iron Man. What a great film. It really did a great job at kicking off this universe, introducing us to Tony Stark and Iron Man. Did a great job introducing the whole origin story of a character that we didn't really know up until that point. The action was great. The supporting cast was great, most notably Terrence Howard, who I really liked as Rhodey. Don Cheadle's great, but I thought if they would have been able to keep Terrence Howard, that would have been just as good. Obviously, you have Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, really stand out. Their chemistry has always been great, and it started there. The villain, a lot of people don't like Jeff Bridges' portrayal of Obadiah Stane or the Ironmonger, but I thought it was decent. I remember when I first saw the film, I saw him as a pretty menacing character. It has that typical superhero theme where the hero fights just basically an evil version of himself. Iron Man versus evil Iron Man, basically. But yeah, just a really great film, a really great kicking off point. Second honorable mention is going to go to the first Thor movie starring Chris Hemsworth. I didn't really know too much about the Thor character, just like I didn't know much about Captain America or Iron Man or a little bit about the Hulk, but they introduced us to Asgard and to the whole family, the first family, I guess, of Thor, Odin, and Loki, obviously. And the best part of this movie, directed beautifully by Sir Kenneth Branagh, is really that whole relationship between Odin, Thor, and Loki. It's about a father and his 2 sons. Obviously, Loki, it's revealed that he is not actually blood related to Odin or Thor. He's a frost giant, but they raised him as his own, and that whole dynamic, that whole problem that was set off with that revelation, I guess, really compelling stuff. And Loki is easily the best villain the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had. He's very deep, has tremendous amount of layers. He's unpredictable. You don't know what he's gonna do, but he's a very complex character and a deep character, and one that even though he does some pretty bad stuff, you feel for him, and you like him, and you want to see more of him, and that's just what makes a great villain. So it's really hard not to put those 2 on my list, but there's 5 films that I liked even more than that, and we're going to start at number 5, and that is going to be 2015's Avengers: Age of Ultron. I saw a lot of people coming out of the early screenings of that film comparing it to the first Avengers, saying they couldn't decide at that point whether it was even better possibly than the first Avengers, and I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew it wasn't as good as the first Avengers. Nothing could have beat that nostalgia, that sense of awe that we were seeing with the first time in the first Avengers. That being said, Avengers Age of Ultron does a lot of things better than the first Avengers, and it actually stands on its own as a great film. Just from the opening action sequence of them storming Baron von Strucker's Hydra base, just a great scene encompassing all of the Avengers' powers and talents and their chemistry and their banter. And then, of course, you have that shot of them all in slow motion coming together, all jumping out using their caps on the motorcycle. Thor's flying, Iron Man's flying, Hulk's about to knock someone out. Great scene. There's some pretty good humor in the film, a lot more great action. The Hulkbuster fight is incredible, visually stunning. The story's actually pretty decent. Ultron, obviously, they explain why he doesn't just use nuclear codes and has to create this whole very complex plan of lifting Sokovia out of the ground and vibranium core and cataclysmic world-ending event. So the story by comic book movie standards, I thought was pretty decent. Joss Whedon put himself through hell directing the second movie. He was coming off a leg surgery, and he was just, seeing pictures of him on set came out, and he just looked exhausted. And then in the interviews, you could tell he was just fed up with all this shit and couldn't wait to step out of the limelight of the superhero spotlight. Really took a toll on him. That being said, he did a great job with the second Avengers. There's a lot of great stuff in there, but I gotta say, my biggest problem and why this movie isn't higher on this list is Ultron himself. If I just saw the movie on its own without seeing any of the marketing, I might feel a little bit different about this. But the reason I don't like Ultron as a villain or as a character, in this movie especially, is the marketing built him up to be this menacing, ultra-powerful threat to the Avengers. If you remember in that first trailer, it's all talking about, there's no strings on me. And, there's that great shot of all the Avengers lying dead on the steps. You see Cap's shield broken in half. You see Thor's hammer gone. And they really made it look like it was going to be a much darker film. Ultron was going to be killing people. He was going to be a very physically imposing presence. And he was just going to be knocking skulls and busting ass the whole movie. And if you've seen the movie, you don't get that. You don't get that. Ultron was, for lack of a better word, a pussy. He was. I thought James Spader brought as much as he could to the character. His voice was great. He sounded great. And he had some pretty decent lines. But as far as a physically imposing threat to the Avengers, not at all. I mean, Cap took him pretty much by himself. The Hulk would have destroyed him by himself. Thor could have taken him by himself. Iron Man, early in the film, took him by himself. And, they had the whole subplot with Scarlet Witch trying to tear them apart. That didn't really work at all. It kind of tore them apart a little bit until they all went to Hawkeye's farm and found each other again. That's another kind of issue I had. The whole Hawkeye focus throughout the movie. I know he kind of got, lowballed in the first film because he was a zombie for half of it. But that doesn't mean you go out of your way to make him the main character of the second one. He's a supporting character. Give him a supporting role, much like he had in Civil War, which I liked him much more in, and let him serve his purpose there. So, but overall, Avengers Age of Ultron, a really great follow-up to the first Avengers, a really solid film on its own, has a lot of great action, a lot of great character moments, character development, and I really liked it. Okay, number 4, I'm going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy, the space opera-esque superhero film of ragtag bunch of misfits, directed by James Gunn, came out in August of 2014. This movie was really Marvel's first gamble, I feel, besides the first Iron Man, of course. Nobody knew who Guardians of the Galaxy were. Nobody knew who Star-Lord was, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, the Nova Corps, Ronan the Accuser. Nobody knew who they were. On top of that, as your lead character, Star-Lord, you cast Chris Pratt, who is very talented, granted, but up until that point was not a movie star by any means, barely a TV star. So that was you combine those two risks, and this movie was a gamble. And then you have James Gunn, who granted is a very talented director, but hadn't really directed any big blockbuster films up until that point. And you give him $200 million to make a space opera comic book movie, and luckily for Marvel, well, I guess it's not luck if you know what you're doing, he knocked it out of the park. Guardians of the Galaxy was so great, such a great surprise. I wasn't expecting too much from it. The marketing was pretty good, some pretty funny lines. some great chemistry just in the trailers, but then they just take it up a notch once you actually see the film. Visually, it's very, very good looking. It's a decent story. Kind of cliche about, you take all these people from different backgrounds and they have to unite for a common cause and team up in the end and fight the bad guys, and they win, and kind of paint by the numbers, but it has this whole James Gunn twist to it, a little bit of James Gunn flavor on it that you can definitely tell, both visually and story wise. I mean, whenever anyone talks about Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember when I did my review back for my very first movie blog, everybody was raving about the soundtrack, and for a good reason. It's one of the very few soundtracks I've actually bought a physical copy of, and I had it in my car for over a year. And from great songs like the opening "Come and Get Your Love" during the opening title sequence, just so great. And then you've got songs from like Jackson 5, and then you got Ain't No Mountain High, and just very memorable soundtrack. It really serves as like a character in the film, really brings up the whole overall entertainment factor of the film too. This movie's probably as high as it is because I was so surprised by it. I wasn't expecting too much from it, and coming out of it, I had to go see it again the next day, and I saw it. It's one of the few films I've seen 3 times in its opening weekend. I just want to go. I want to take everyone I know to go see it because it's just a really fun time and an unexpected fun time. Those are the best. So Guardians at number 4, and number 3, I am going to go with Captain America: Civil War. As I record this video, I have seen the film now 4 times in theaters. This film is just awesome. It's really where the MCU needed to go. You don't have all these world-changing events and epic showdowns and just cataclysmic disasters on a regular basis. It's like in Deadpool, the house that blows up every couple of years. It's really true. You don't have all that happen without some form of consequence, some form of oversight, and I thought it was very apt and very responsible of them to address that now. The whole theme of the movie is, do the Avengers need oversight? Do they need to have someone keeping them in check? And you have Tony Stark, who is very pro. He's very adamant that they do. And then you have Captain America, Steve Rogers, on the stark opposite side, saying, no, they don't. The safest hands are still our own. What if there's a place we need to go and they don't let us? What if there's a place they send us that we don't feel like we have to go? Very compelling arguments on both sides. And I think the Russo brothers, who directed this, really had a tough job of, they had to make you feel that you could understand where they both were coming from. And they knocked that part out of the park. So on top of this ideological struggle between the 2 most prominent Avengers, the 2 most prominent characters in the MCU, Iron Man and Captain America, on top of that, you have, a cornucopia of great supporting characters and great supporting character moments, from the introduction of T'Challa, Black Panther, who, oh man, if you're not pumped for a Black Panther movie after seeing that, there's something wrong with you, gotta say. From the introduction of Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, something, 2 years ago, everyone thought it would never happen, but here we are, he's there, and he was awesome. And then you have our regulars, the guys, our Rocks, our Hawkeyes, our Black Widows, our Visions, Falcon, War Machine, just so great. The chemistry between all of them is so amazing. The action in this film is superb. Some of the best action you've ever seen in a comic movie by far. The airport sequence, like I've said in my Captain America review, or Civil War review, the airport sequence is fantastic, incredible. Some really just jaw-dropping moments from a plethora of characters. Ant-Man, Black Panther, Spider-Man. But Civil War is one of the most personal movies too. I think this is the best acting we've seen from Robert Downey Jr. in a long time in this film. Chris Evans carries this film on his back. He is Captain America, and like I said, the great roles of the supporting characters are just elevate the film to another level. And it's a really critical tipping point in the MCU, and I really love it. And I gave it an 8.75 in my review, and I'm here to say it's a 9. I'm bumping it up to a 9. I've seen it 4 times, and I like it more each time. So Captain America: Civil War is number 3. So Civil War at number 3, I was flip-flopping between that and my number 2. And number 2 is going to go ahead and be Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I think the reason I have this above Civil War is because after the Avengers, Captain America was easily my least favorite Avenger, and I was borderline not even liking the character. And what Winter Soldier did is reestablish Captain America, establish Steve Rogers as a badass, as the man, as a guy you believe is Captain America. You want that guy representing your country, America. That's who you want. Because in the Avengers, he was just an afterthought, really. He saved a couple people on the ground, and then he got bitched by Loki in the first fight, and he wore that weird spangly outfit, one-piece jumpsuit that looked terrible. Fast forward to Winter Soldier. He has that awesome stealth suit, has some great action sequences. Even the first sequence when he's taking that ship, just knocking dudes 20 feet with one kick, fighting Batroc the Leaper, just whooping his ass. And then you have the elevator scene, one of the greatest scenes in any comic book movie, just so badass. And then obviously all the fights with Bucky, some amazing hand-to-hand combat scenes that the Russos directed. So great. And then, the villain, Alexander Pierce, played by Robert Redford, I think he's underrated. I think he was pretty cool. The whole Hydra thing infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., I didn't see coming, and it was a pretty big reveal. And, that movie has some really big consequences for the rest of the MCU that I don't think people understand. Like, that movie changed everything. The whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra dynamic. Now, we're still in Civil War, we're still dealing with Hydra shit. I mean, and obviously in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they dealt with it, and Age of Ultron, they dealt with it, and we're still seeing the ramifications of that film. Also, that film reintroduced the Winter Soldier, Bucky, who was probably the third main character in Civil War, the last Marvel movie. So that Winter Soldier is so important to the whole MCU, and it was great. It really was. You're introduced it to Falcon, who I really liked in the movie. Going into Civil War, I didn't really, Falcon, what's he going to do? He can fly. That's about it. But in Winter Soldier, he played a pretty cool role. He's a great character. Him and Cap have a great relationship, great chemistry. Obviously, you get some more background on Black Widow, on Nick Fury. That whole chase sequence when Nick Fury's, racing through the streets of DC, getting chased, ultimately caught by the Winter Soldier. One of the best chase scenes in a comic book movie, easily too. So Captain America: Winter Soldier, I think is definitely my second favorite MCU movie, both because it's a great movie on its own, reestablishes Cap as a badass and as a leader, and has some pretty big ramifications for the rest of the MCU going forward as well. And number one, if there was any doubt, is the very first Avengers film, The Avengers. When I saw this movie, I had seen all the prior MCU movies and thought they were good, thought they were decent. I hadn't really delved into my deep appreciation of film up until this point. I'd always been a film fan, but not to the point where I followed film blogs and online critics and all that stuff yet. But I'll tell you what, one of the most influential movies on my love of film is easily that first Avengers film. Came out in 2012. I remember going to see it on that Friday night, just because a bunch of my other friends wanted to go see it, and I was down. We get there, and there's lines to the street, and if you've seen my movie theater, to the street is pretty far. And I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? Iron Man and Captain America, that's cool. I had heard of those guys. Obviously, I saw their movies, and Thor was going to be there, and there's the Incredible Hulk. I still call him the Incredible Hulk because, whatever. But the important thing is, once I finally sat down, I didn't really know too much. I think I saw maybe one trailer. Upon sitting down and watching the film, I was just blown away. Just the mixture of action and humor and just epic shots. Just, oh my God. It's one of the best movie-going experiences I've ever had. Top 3, easily. Probably top 2. Just seeing, and now I like it more every time. It's very rewatchable. Very rewatchable. What Joss Whedon was able to do with Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, introducing a new Hulk, nothing short of remarkable. Does a great job with all the chemistry between the characters. Loki is a great villain in this film. You really believe his cause. I don't think to this day I've ever laughed harder in a movie than I did in this movie. And it's obviously the scene that's become famous now. Loki and the Hulk are in Stark Tower, and he says, "Enough! I am a god, you foul creature." And Hulk just picks him up by the legs and just, smashes and beats the shit out of him. I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. I was bent over in my chair, like sucking for air. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. I didn't. It wasn't until the third time I saw the movie that I actually heard Hulk say, "Puny God." Both times I was laughing so hard I couldn't even think straight. Saw it with a packed theater. Just a great experience. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a great time. And it's just one of those special movies that, you know, all the great comic book movies that come after it will be compared to. And just one of my favorite movies of all time. So in conclusion, we have top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Number 5, Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 3, Captain America Civil War. Number 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier. And number 1, The Avengers. I'm really interested to see what your favorite MCU movies are. Do you agree with my list? What would you take out? What would you put on? Let me know. If you like this video, please give it a like. Go back in our channel, find some other videos, watch them. If you like those, give those a like as well. And if you like all these videos, you want to see more, become a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and lets me know that you want to see more. Like always, people, follow me on social media, just on Twitter at Dominic Suma, on Instagram at DomSum, Snapchat, Dominic_Suma4. And I hope you liked this video detailing my 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Comment below what you thought, and until next time, I'll see you later.